Hello and welcome to our talk on homelessness, vulnerably housed and how the big issue helps these kinds of people. This is Debbie, she's going to be interpreting the presentation. Right. The first thing we're going to look at in regards to the big issue is homelessness. Now, it's actually one of the biggest problems we have in Britain, but it's also one of the most misinterpreted. On average, we have nearly 500 people on the streets each night in Britain. Half of these are from London. However, this doesn't count the many other thousands of people who are counted as the hidden homeless, who weren't found, couldn't be seen. They might have been in shelters, sleeping on people's sofas, staying with friends, living in squats, or they just couldn't be seen. They were hidden so well, like on the streets, they couldn't be seen by the government and weren't counted in the figures. It's harder for the homeless to get shelter than you think. Although we do have homeless shelters, they are limited, and due to government regulations, there are about to be less of them. It's hard to earn money. You have to earn money to get into them. It's £3.50 a night, and there are limited spaces, so you have to get there early. If you haven't earned any money that day, you're not going to be going into the shelter. Also, if you're trying to get housing in a certain area, there are lots of rules that you have to abide by. You have to have a local connection to the area, which means you have to have been there for a certain amount of time, or you have to have family living down here. If you don't have these things, it's very unlikely you'll get into council housing. There are many reasons for homelessness, the most common being parents unable or unwilling to accommodate their children. 16 to 25-year-olds are the most commonly aged homeless people on the streets in Britain. Once you have been homeless, it's sometimes very hard to go back into housing and very difficult to get back onto your feet. There are other things such as domestic violence and coming out of the armed services that mean that you sometimes end up on the streets. Breakdown of marriage is another one, or death of a family member or partner. Most recently, a loss of jobs due to the recession has meant that a lot of people are finding it more difficult to keep up with their mortgage and rent payments. Mental health is a reason for lots of people to be on the streets as well. If they have issues, they need medical attention sometimes. They find it hard to keep relationships. They find it hard to go to work and earn money. And they find it hard to keep hold of their housing. Drugs and alcohol can be a part of homelessness, but also it's one of the most biggest misconceptions. Sorry. It can be a cause of homelessness, and lots of people who have taken drugs or turn to alcohol end up on the streets. However, this is not always the case, and it is certainly not the biggest reason for homelessness. Lots of people turn to drugs and alcohol because they are on the streets. It can be a result of homelessness, not just a cause. So the big issue was set up to help the homeless people. It was set up by John Bird, who has been homeless himself. And he, in 1991, looked at the state of homelessness in London and realised that a massive amount of people were living rough on the streets. He wanted to help them, but he realised that giving them money would first of all be very expensive and it wouldn't solve the problem. They needed a way to earn money for themselves so that they could then go on and be part of society. This led to the ethos of the big issue, helping them to help themselves. It started in London, as I said, but since then has been spread to the rest of England, Wales and Scotland, and it now is internationally all over the world. and we're in places like Japan, Australia and South Africa. We're also in other places in Asia, and it's gone worldwide. And it's helped people worldwide as well. Recently there is a man in South Africa who's just, with the money that he had from the Big Issue and certain donations, he has managed to get a degree in computers. The company, which is the Big Issue, is a company, it's not a charity. We sell the Big Issue to the vendors, and for £1.25, and they sell it for £2.50, making a profit. The company is self-sufficient, so we sell the magazines, and the money that the vendors give to us goes towards making the magazine. We also get funding from this from advertising in the magazine. Any profit goes towards the Big Issue Foundation, which is the charity part. I've got a Big Issue here. So as you can see, it's £2.50 out every Monday. The vendors will try and sell this. We have regular features in it as well. For example, we have the mix, which is letters from the readers. We have a letter to a younger self, which is where a celebrity talks about her youth, and often some of them are related to homelessness themselves or have had problems, and they talk about that. And we have street lights as well, which is homeless people and other people related to homelessness sending in their artwork and poems and stuff that they've been doing. And right at the back we have My Pitch, which shows a vendor each week from over the UK and their story and why they like selling the Big Issue. When a vendor first comes to us, when he first becomes a vendor, we give them an induction, we give them sales training, we give them 5 free magazines. After that, they have to buy their own magazines, and they have to buy at least 2 at a time. After 3 weeks, they have to have saved up £15 for a deposit on a jacket. You see them wearing their Big Issue jackets. I've got a picture of one here actually. Like, this one's very small, but that picture with their jacket on. They have their badge in there, and they have to pay £15 for that. When they stop selling the Big Issue, they can hand the jacket back in and they get their £15 back. So that's the company side. As I said before, all the money that's made from the magazine goes to the foundation, and this is the charity. This was set up in 1995 when they realised that although they needed a way to earn money, they also needed help with other issues around homelessness. The Big Issue Foundation helps with problems such as financial support, healthcare, addiction, sales training, anything that they need help with and support to get them back into society. Part of this is the vendor savings fund, where if a vendor comes in and they need something such as a passport or a birth certificate or something for their house, or travel somewhere for a job interview, we have funds available to give them part of the cost. With the ethos of the Big Issue being help them to help themselves, we encourage them to pay a percentage of the cost. This is usually about 20-25%. It's seen as a grant, so if they say the cost for an educational course is £200, we say, okay, you pay £75 and we'll pay the rest. So they also help with the registration with doctors, mental health applications, housing applications, support benefits applications, and advice on support on anything else they need. We also try to help them with their educational opportunities, as a lot of them didn't get the best education, and with their sales training to try and help improve their selling of the big issue. Okay, in Bournemouth in particular, we're very lucky because we do have a foundation part of our office. So we have the sales team, which is a group of staff and volunteers who help to sell the big issue and act as a retailer for the vendors. We offer them a chance to come in and talk to us. We try and help them with their sales. We encourage them to sell more. We have a lot of targets that they have to reach. We offer them internet use. They can use the phone. We've got books that they can borrow, and we also offer them tea and coffee, but they have to pay 20p. We also offer them an opportunity to save money with us. They can each open up their own vendor bank account. They can save up to £100 in this. Basically, it just means that we keep their money safe for them and they can get it out at any time they want to. The foundation staff, we have 2 people working for us, and they help to support the vendors in any way that they can, trying to move them away from homelessness so that they can be better in a better position socially. They offer sales training, access to housing, anything that they need. We cover a very large area in the south. We cover actually the southwest of England, so between us and Southampton we cover an area of 2,424 square miles, and we have over 90 pitches. We have a lot of vendors at the moment as well. We've also teamed up with the local college to offer them educational support. So a lot of them have been doing their NVQs at the moment in retail and sales, and they have just recently, we had a certificate ceremony at the office where they got their certificates. We also have a lot of special weeks. Last month it was the Aspirations Week, where we worked with them to try and find out what they wanted to do, help them with their educational courses, career advice, encouraging them to be self-employed, trying to help them with their CV writing, and we did some English classes as well. My role at the Big Issue is I try and help raise awareness. I work for the company, so it's a lot to do with sales. I'm trying to get people to realise that the Big Issue is not a bad thing. It's not a charity. We're actually trying to help people to help themselves. As part of this, I do quite a lot of fundraising, and I've recently worked with some of the local schools to raise money for the Big Issue Foundation. As well as raising money, it also teaches people about the Big Issue and what we do. One of the schools actually just completed a sleep out where the staff and the students slept in the playground for a night to see what it would be like to be homeless. I also run the Big Issue Facebook page, trying to connect the local community to their vendors and the Big Issue, and try and teach them a bit about what we do. And a big part of that was we run a Facebook competition to get a local artist to come down to design the front of our Big Issue office. And we've been working with Martin Butler to do this, and he's done an amazing job at redoing the front of our office. There have been a few changes with the Big Issue recently. We've spoken a lot about homelessness, but there are a lot of people that are vulnerably housed, and it could happen at any moment that they lose their accommodation and they end up on the streets. Obviously we don't want this to happen, so we need to help them to keep a steady income. It could be people in financial crisis. They might find it hard to get a job, Also, a lot of people are in housing with short tenancies or in B&Bs, things like that, and they could be kicked out any time. We need to help them keep up their financial situation so they can stay in their houses. So that's what the Big Issue do, and especially Big Issue Bournemouth. Here's a quick picture of what the Big Issue Centre looks like, and now we've got a short video from the point of view of one of the vendors.
Over the last 20 years, in cities across the UK, thousands.
That doesn't work. There we go. Just have to watch it small.
Taken the opportunity to earn a legitimate income. Big Issue magazine is one of Britain's leading social businesses that exists to help the most needy in society on their journey away from homelessness.
The Big Issue, they gave me my life back. I had no life before I came to the issue, and then when I got back out, they gave me a second chance in life.
The magazine is a hand up, not a handout, and helps those going through the trauma of homelessness to take control of their lives by turning them into a micro-mentorers.
You've got to help yourself before you really get help. That's the way I feel. Big Issue, ladies, Big Issue. Giving them something for their money, not just taking their money from them.
Every week they sell an entertainment and current affairs magazine which they buy for £1 and sell to the public material. They learn to manage their sales, control their finances and rebuild their confidence and self-esteem. These skills are crucial in helping homeless people reintegrate into mainstream society.
I don't think just because I'm homeless doesn't mean I can't work. That's what the Big Issue is about. It makes me feel good about myself.
The Big Issue vendor is someone who has taken the first step to rebuilding their lives.
Okay, well, thank you very much for listening. Hope you know a bit more about the Big Issue now.